Hello everyone. And now let us move to the next concepts under module number 3. It's refrigeration and air conditioning. See which are the contents they have mentioned uh, under refrigeration and air conditioning. Let us see first. So first thing is they have given some refrigerants and properties of those refrigerants and list of commonly used refrigerants. Then we need to discuss what is refrigeration and its definition. And some of the very important definitions are there in that: refrigeration effect, ton of refrigeration, ice making capacity, COP, relative COP, and unit of refrigeration. Next, let us discuss about that there are two types of refrigeration, that is principle and working of vapor compression refrigeration and principle and working of vapor absorption refrigeration system. And then we have that regarding air conditioning systems, principle and applications of air conditioners. That is, we have one thing called a room air conditioner. Under that we need to discuss all these things. So for that, let us begin with the first thing. That is, the important thing is we will learn what is the definition of that refrigeration. So now come to the first thing, that is refrigeration. You can see there it is defined as the process of removing the heat from a substance under the controlled conditions and reducing and maintaining the temperature of that body below the temperature of its surroundings by the aid of external work. So this is a simple definition of refrigeration. You all know what is that refrigeration almost, I guess. You will use the domestic refrigerators in your home. So based on that, you can write the definition of this refrigeration. So it's a process of removing heat from a compartment or from a substance under the controlled conditions. Or even you can call that as reducing and maintaining the temperature of a body below the temperature of its surrounding by the aid of external work. External work, you all know that it's a refrigerator is a heat pump, where to make that heat pump to supply the heat from lower temperature region to higher temperature region, we need that external work. This thing we already discussed in second law of thermodynamics. So for that, it's defined as process of removing heat from a substance under the controlled condition and reducing and maintaining the temperature of the body below its surroundings with the aid of external work. So it is called as refrigeration. So you can tell this refrigeration in the one more simplest way. I will tell you that it is the process of removing the heat from a compartment and maintaining the temperature of a compartment always less than the surrounding temperature by continuously extracting heat from it. So this is the one more simplest definition of refrigeration. If you want, you can make a note of it. Refrigeration is defined as removing the heat from a compartment and maintaining the temperature of the compartment at a temperature less than the surrounding temperature by continuously extracting heat from it is called as refrigeration. So I'll tell you the principle behind this. So as I said, you will use the domestic refrigerators in your home. Actually, you all know that. So that is one compartment there whose temperature will always be less than some atmospheric temperatures. And you all know that. So that compartment temperature always be maintained at that lesser temperatures. How the temperature will be maintained at lesser values? We will continuously extract heat from that compartment. So that is how actually definition of refrigeration goes on. So remember that it is a process of removing the heat from a compartment and maintaining the temperature of a compartment less than that of surrounding temperature by continuously extracting heat from that compartment. So that is called as refrigeration. So next is, you can see that in a refrigerator, power is to be supplied to remove the heat continuously from the refrigerator cabinet to keep it cool at a temperature less than the atmospheric temperature. Here they have mentioned with the aid of external work. So external work is that use your electrical power actually that has to be supplied to remove the heat continuously from the refrigerator cabin to keep it cool at a temperature less than atmospheric temperature. So this is the definition of refrigerator. Very simple thing. It is a process of removing the heat from a compartment and maintaining the temperature of the compartment less than atmospheric temperature by continuously extracting heat from it. That is the very simple definition of refrigeration, and you can remember that. Next, after that, we will move to that important thing in that refrigeration. So you all know that this is the most important thing uh, which will help in extracting the heat from that compartment, that is refrigerant. So you can see what is refrigerant here. In a refrigerator, a medium called refrigerant continuously extracts the heat from the space within the refrigerator, which is to be kept cool at a temperature less than at a temperature less than atmosphere, and finally rejects it to it. That is, it is in the refrigerator. This refrigerant is a medium actually, and it is the one which continuously extract the heat from that compartment, and which the compartment which is to be kept cool than the atmospheric temperatures, and then the heat which is absorbed from the compartment again will be rejected to the atmosphere actually. So for that we'll call that refrigerant as, it's a medium which continuously extract the heat from the compartment which is to be kept cooled and then reject that heat to the atmosphere. So remember that, that is called as refrigerant. So it's a medium which is used to absorb the heat. Next, some of the fluids like ammonia, freon, methyl chloride, carbon dioxide are the most commonly used refrigerants. Yes, these are that some of the refrigerants you can remember. Ammonia is a refrigerant, freon group of refrigerants are there, methyl chloride refrigerants, and carbon dioxide is also a refrigerant. So we have few more refrigerants. Let us see which are all the refrigerants there, and we will discuss one by one actually. You can see there. Now next concept is refrigerants commonly used in practice. So first thing is we have that you can see that most commonly used refrigerants are ammonia, first thing actually. Next is carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, methyl chloride, and these are freon group of refrigerants actually, freon 12, freon 22 you can see here. So next you can see that ammonia, it is used in vapor absorption refrigerator. So in the first part, that is when I'm discussing about a syllabus under refrigeration, I told that there are two types of refrigeration system will come. One is vapor compression refrigeration system, another one is vapor absorption refrigeration system. So ammonia is a refrigerant which will be used in vapor absorption refrigerator. So remember that. Next is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide will be used in case of marine refrigerators. Next, sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide will be used in household refrigerators. Methyl chloride will be used in small scale refrigerant and domestic refrigerators. We can use this methyl chloride in very small scale and domestic refrigerators. Next comes freon 12. Again it will be a domestic vapor compression refrigerator system. So it is under vapor compression refrigeration system, and this will be used only in case of domestic vapor compression refrigeration system. Next, freon 22 is used in case of air conditioners. So in air conditioner also we need that refrigerants. So this freon 22 will be used in case of air conditioner. So these are all the applications where these refrigerants will be used. Ammonia will be used in case of vapor absorption refrigerator. Carbon dioxide will be used in marine refrigerators. Sulfur dioxide will be used in case of household refrigerators. Methyl chloride will be used in case of small scale refrigeration and domestic refrigerators. Freon 12 will be in domestic vapor compression refrigerators. Freon 22 in case of air conditioners. Next, let us see some of the characteristics of these refrigerants actually. So ammonia as a refrigerant is employed in refrigerators operating on the absorption principle, that is vapor absorption refrigeration system. Because of its high latent heat, you can see that latent heat of ammonia, it's around 1300 kilojoule per kg at minus 15 degrees Celsius, and low specific volume of 0.509 meter cube per kg at minus 15 degrees Celsius. It produces high refrigeration effects even in the small refrigerators. If you want to remember these latent heat value and specific volume value, you can remember it. So ammonia, you need not to mention this temperature value. You can write at least ammonia has a latent heat of 1300 kg and specific volume of 0.509 meter cube per kg. And you can write one more thing, is it produces very high refrigeration effect even in small refrigerators. Next, since ammonia will not harm the ozone, it is environmental friendly and it is widely used in cold storage and ice making plants. So which are the applications of this ammonia, and it is your vapor absorption refrigeration system. So it is not harmful to the ozone. So will be used in cold storage and ice making plants. Next, it's somewhat toxic, it is flammable, it is irritating, and food destroying properties makes it unsuitable for domestic refrigerators. So these are some of the disadvantages of this ammonia. toxic and it can catch a fire very early, and even it is that is irritating odor, and it destroy that food actually. So this makes that is unsuitable for domestic refrigerators. Next, CO2. Efficiency of the refrigerator using CO2 refrigerant is very low. Therefore, it is seldom used in domestic refrigerators, but it is used in dry ice making plants. And this is what efficiency of that refrigerators which uses that carbon dioxide will be less there. So that's why it is actually only used for this dry ice making plants. And some of the characteristics of CO2 are: it is colorless, odorless, non-toxic, non-inflammable, and non-corrosive. That is, it's of colorless, you all know that CO2, and then it doesn't have any odor there. It is odorless, and CO2 is a bit non-toxic, and it doesn't catch any fire there. You all know that it is of non-inflammable. Next, non-corrosive also. We'll move to sulfur dioxide. Earlier sulfur dioxide was one of the most commonly used refrigerant in the domestic refrigerators in earlier days actually. So although it has better thermodynamic properties, it has low refrigerating effect and high specific volume. Therefore, large capacity, high speed compressors are used. So this is what regarding that compressors of this refrigerator. So if you want to remember, you can go through this point, or else we'll move to the next thing actually. Since it combines with water and forms sulfurous and sulfuric acids, which are corrosive to metals, the refrigerators using sulfur dioxide as refrigerant are rare. So because of this disadvantage of this sulfur dioxide, that is, it will combine with the water and forms sulfurous and sulfuric acids. So that makes this sulfur dioxide as a corrosive element for metals, so thereby which its application again will be reduced. So therefore the refrigerators using sulfur dioxide as refrigerants are very rare actually. And next we have methyl chloride. Methyl chloride was used in earlier in domestic and small scale industrial refrigerators. Since it will burn under some condition and slightly toxic, it is not generally used. So disadvantage of this methyl chloride is it will burn under some conditions, so undergo combustion actually, and even this slightly toxic. This methyl chloride is bit toxic, so it is not generally used. Next, let us move to this Freon group of refrigerants actually. So Freon group of refrigerants is used almost universally in domestic refrigerators. These refrigerants are colorless, almost odorless, non-toxic, non-inflammable, non-explosive, and non-corrosive. Freon 12 and Freon 22 are the two Freon refrigerants commonly used in domestic refrigerators and air conditioners. So we already discussed in that few slides before that Freon 12 will be used in domestic refrigerators, whereas Freon 22 will be used in air conditioners. Although these refrigerants are being now used extensively in the refrigerators and the air conditioners, it has been found that these refrigerants posing a major threat to global environment through their role in destruction of ozone layers. You all know that depletion of ozone layers, the reason for that depletion of that ozone layers, and these again, this Freon 12 and Freon 22 are posing a major threat to this global environment, because that it will be like if you use this Freon 12 and Freon 22, they are the reason for again destruction of ozone layer. So that is one of the disadvantage of this Freon group of refrigerants actually. So after these what most commonly used refrigerants, next concept is properties of a good refrigerant. So which are all the properties a good refrigerant should possess? So that is what the most important thing actually. Based on that, we will select that refrigerant what we required for our refrigeration system. So for that, let us see which are all the properties that refrigerant should possess. And these these properties are classified into 4 different categories there. First thing is thermodynamic property. Next thing is physical property of refrigerant, and safe working properties of refrigerant, and other properties of refrigerant. So this is like even this is where I have taken from one textbook actually, that is your KRG textbook. In some of the textbook, they won't classify that properties like this. They will simply give that which are all the important properties of refrigerant actually. Even this is the simplest way to remember these properties of good refrigerant. So first, that is properties will be classified into 4 different categories there: thermodynamic properties, physical properties, safe working properties, and other properties. Again, under thermodynamic properties, we have all these properties of the refrigerant. You can see that boiling point, freezing point, evaporator and condenser pressure, latent heat of evaporation. Next, physical properties: specific volume, specific heat, and viscosity. Safe working properties are toxicity, flammability, corrosiveness, chemical stability. And other properties are like, this is regarding performance, coefficient of performance, odor of the refrigerant, and it is even leakage test actually. That refrigerant leakage should be detected very early. So far that it is under leak. And next is action with lubricating oil. So these are under other properties. So let us discuss one by one which are all the desirable properties of that good refrigerant. So first thing, we have that boiling point. So come to this. An ideal refrigerant must have that low boiling temperature at atmospheric pressure. So what you need to remember is, write that the first property, that is boiling point, right? An ideal refrigerant must have low boiling point or low boiling temperature. You can write that. So when it is having low boiling point, definitely it as soon as it reaches the evaporator, it acquires it starts to boil at less temperature itself. So it receives or it absorbs more and more amount of heat from that compartment. So it should have some low boiling point there. Now next is actually freezing point. This is regarding an ideal refrigerant must have very low freezing point, because the refrigerant should not freeze at low evaporator temperatures. So this is regarding freezing point. An ideal refrigerant again must have very low freezing point. So what you need to remember is, just write that boiling point, and you need to write whether that refrigerant should have low boiling point or high boiling point. You can write an ideal refrigerant must have low boiling point. Next, write that freezing point. Again, an ideal refrigerant must have that very low freezing point. Next comes to this evaporator and condenser pressure. In order to avoid that leakage, atmospheric air, in order to avoid the leakage of atmospheric air and also enable the detection of leakage of the refrigerant, both this evaporator and the condenser pressure should be slightly above the atmospheric pressure. So if you want to remember why that evaporator and condenser pressure should be maintained above the atmospheric pressure, you can remember that it is just to avoid the leakage of atmospheric air and also to enable the detection of leakage. So in order to do that, evaporator and condenser pressure should be slightly higher than that of atmospheric pressure. So it is very easy to remember actually. You can, evaporator and condenser pressure should be slightly higher than atmospheric pressure. That is one of the property of that refrigerant. Next, again, latent heat of evaporation. So that latent heat of evaporation must be very high there, so that a minimum amount of refrigerator will accomplish the desired result. In other words, it increases the refrigeration effect. We already discussed what is this latent heat of evaporation in that steam part actually. Amount of heat required to convert that liquid from saturated state to vapor at the same saturated state. That is latent heat of evaporation there. So it must be very high. That means that that refrigerant should require, or it require enormous amount of heat to convert its phase from liquid to vapor. So when it is having high latent heat of evaporation, it can absorb, a small quantity of refrigerant can absorb enormous or large quantity of heat from that compartment. So thereby which it increases the refrigeration effect. So that is why they have given latent heat of evaporation, latent heat of evaporation of the refrigerant must be very high. If the latent heat of evaporation is very high, it absorbs large quantity of heat from that compartment, thereby which it increases the refrigeration effect. This is under thermodynamics properties there. Next, under physical properties, specific volume. Specific volume of the refrigerant must be very low. So the lower specific volume of the refrigerant at the suction of the compressor reduces the size of the compressor. This is just to reduce the size of the compressor. Specific volume. We all know what is specific volume, and I told its specific properties and all in the first module itself. So we all know the definition of density there, mass by volume, and if you reverse that, it is volume by mass. Volume occupied by unit mass is called as specific volume. So that specific volume of the refrigerant must be very low. At least you can remember this point. You need not to remember all these things. Like, what should be the specific volume of the refrigerant? Specific volume of the refrigerant must be low. Next, specific heat of liquid and vapor. Here, a good refrigerant must have low specific heat when it is in liquid state and high specific heat when it is in the vaporized form. So please remember this much, or just go through this much. This is what why it has to be, that is specific heat has to be less when it is in the liquid state, and why the specific heat it has why the specific heat is to be high in that vaporized form. So like just go through this. A good refrigerant must have low specific heat when it is in the liquid state and high specific heat when it is vaporized. So remember that. You all know that what is specific heat. Specific heat is amount of heat required to raise the temperature of unit mass of a substance by 1 degree there. So for that, specific heat of that liquid must be less and specific heat of that vapor must be high. So both these are desirable properties to increase the refrigeration effect. Next is viscosity. Viscosity definition, you all know that. So viscosity of a refrigerant at both that liquid and the vapor state must be very low, as improves the heat transfer and reduce the pumping pressure. You all know that if the viscosity is very high, then that refrigerant will not flow smoothly. So for that, the viscosity of a refrigerant at both that liquid as well as in the vapor state must be less, thereby which that refrigerant will flow easily, and also it improves that heat transfer and reduces the pumping pressure. Next, non-toxicity refrigerant. So a good refrigerant must be non-toxic. This much is enough, and you need to remember only this much. Whether toxicity, right? A good refrigerant must be non-toxic, because any leakage of toxic refrigerant increase suffocation and poison the atmosphere. So next is corrosiveness. A good refrigerant must be non-corrosive. That is to prevent the corrosion of metallic parts of the refrigerant. Next is chemical stability. So ideal refrigerant must not decompose under operating conditions. So it should be chemically stable. It should not undergo any decompose under that operating conditions. Maybe that refrigerant will be operating at some various pressure and various temperature. So it should not decompose under that operating conditions. So this is again very easy to remember. This is regarding toxicity of the refrigerant. So a good refrigerant must be non-toxic, and corrosiveness, a good refrigerant must be non-corrosive, and it should be chemically stable, or it should not undergo any decomposition under operating conditions. Next is coefficient of performance. A good refrigerant, coefficient of performance of a refrigerant must be high, so that energy spent in refrigeration will be less. We will tell you what is the definition of coefficient of performance later actually. So remember that this COP of a refrigerant must be high always. And next is odor. So a good refrigerant must be odorless. That should not contain any bad odors there. Next is leakage test. So the refrigerant must be such that any leakage can be detected by simple test. So if any leakage, if any leakage of that refrigerant occurs, then it has to be detected by very easy test. So that is why that they have given refrigerant must be such that any leakage can be detected by simple test. Next is action with lubricating oil. A good refrigerant must not react with the lubricating oil used in lubricating the parts of the compressor. So in a compressor, as you all know that it is what used to compress the refrigerant, will be some moving parts there. So there actually they'll use some lubricating oil just to lubricate that moving parts in order to avoid that friction and all. So thereby which this refrigerant, when it passes through that compressor, so it should not react, or it should not react with that lubricating oil. So that is regarding action with lubricating oil. So these are all the important properties of this refrigerant. So let us go back again, and we will discuss which are all that important properties of that refrigerant. Then we will finish off this today's session. So again, as I said, the properties will be classified under 4 categories. Remember that: thermodynamic properties, physical properties, and safe working properties, and other properties there. So boiling point of this refrigerant must be low. Next, freezing point of the refrigerant must be low. Evaporator and condenser pressure must be higher than that of atmospheric pressure, thereby which any leakage can be easily detected, or even leakage of air into that refrigeration system is not possible when evaporator and condenser pressure is high than that of atmospheric when the evaporator and condenser pressure should be higher than that of atmospheric pressure. Next, latent heat of evaporation. You all know that we just discussed that regarding latent heat of evaporation must be very high, so that a small quantity of refrigerant will absorb more amount of heat from the compartment. Next is specific volume must be very low. That is, specific volume of the refrigerant must be very low. This is just to reduce that size of the compressor. Next, specific heat of that liquid. That is, when the refrigerant is in the liquid phase, it should have low specific heat, and when that refrigerant is in vapor phase, it should have high specific heat. Next is viscosity. Viscosity of the refrigerant must be low, thereby which it can flow easily, and even it can increases the heat transfer rate as well as it reduces the pumping pressure. So next we have non-toxicity, that is regarding toxicity of the refrigerant. A good refrigerant must be non-toxic, and a good refrigerant must be non-corrosive, and a good refrigerant should not decompose under the operating conditions. Next, coefficient of performance of a refrigerant should be high, and that odor, that good refrigerant should not have any odor there. It must be odorless. Next, leakage test. Leakage test of the refrigerant can be detected by simple leakage can be detected by simple test. That is action with lubricating oil. That refrigerant must not react with the lubricating oil which is used in the compressor there. So these are all that important properties of that refrigerants. So you please go through these things, and again, these are all very important concepts. Some of the commonly used refrigerants, as well as these properties of an ideal refrigerants, as well as definition of that refrigeration. I will tell you the definition of refrigeration once again. It is a process of removing the heat from a compartment and maintaining the temperature of the compartment less than that of atmospheric or surrounding temperature by continuously extracting heat from it. Yes, this process is called as refrigeration. So you please remember that. Along with that, go for that commonly used refrigerant, and then go through these properties of ideal refrigerant.